Welcome to ATEC's Quick Start video series. Today we're going to be featuring the 812C Charging Systems Trainer. We're going to go ahead and give you guys a brief rundown of how this system works. So go ahead, get your operations manual out and follow along. Before we begin doing any activities or procedures with the Charging System Trainer, let's look at how the user interface works. It's located in the top right-hand corner and will default into a user mode where you can manually enter fault codes, either the student or the instructor. If this trainer is utilizing the classroom management program, you can use the instructor computer to send faults directly, even an entire list of faults that a student can do back to back to back utilizing the classroom management program. If you flip the toggle switch up, that will move everything into scan tool mode. Since this unit has a simulated engine control module and a simulated body control module, there's not any bi-directional communication available to use a aftermarket scan tool. So we've provided this option so that way your students can still get the same experience and follow the factory service repair manual. If you press number 1 from scan tool mode, that puts us in the Gen L terminal, and that's going to give us some live data that you read directly from a scan tool, as well as some active testing. So we can see our duty cycle percentage from our signal, we can read our battery voltage, we can also press 1, and that's going to turn the command on. Right now it says none at the top here because the trainer is not officially running at this point. And you can always press star to go back to the following menu. If we press 2, that enters the electric power manager. From there, you can see the current flow is a percentage, as well as the battery voltage, and the desired voltage is not available. Again, it's simply because we don't have the trainer completely powered up at this point. And the last screen is going to be the DTC information screen. This is going to allow the students to pull current DTCs, review history DTCs, and clear any DTCs that are stored in the main computer. So the goal here with the scan tool mode is to provide as much realistic training as possible that your students can take this knowledge and move directly towards a car with. So now that we've got our user interface basic operations under our belt, let's talk about some different things that we can do with this trainer. When you purchase this unit from ATEC Training, it does come with a full binder full of courseware with on-trainer and on-vehicle type activities for your students to do. But now that we're here, we're kind of doing this video, I want to take a few seconds to look at just some different things that you can do and different ways you can use this trainer to help enhance your students' knowledge about how the charging system works. So as with anything that goes with electrical diagnosis, step number 1 is going to be to check the source voltage of the trainer itself. So right now we're running about 12.9 volts. So when I start this trainer up, a couple things should happen. First of all, I've already got my ignition switch on, and I do have my user interface to display the data that I'm looking to achieve here. Notice my battery light is on. That will remain on until I get a charge coming out of the alternator. So we're going to go ahead and turn this electric motor on and get the alternator moving. It's going to be a little loud, so hang in there with me. And you'll immediately notice now that I've got the trainer started that we're going to be running about 14 volts. So that's going to go ahead and immediately show us that the alternator is working. And when I taught my students, I really focused a lot of their attention towards using the data on the data list. But I do think it's important that you compare the data on the data list to what's actually being received and output on the vehicle itself. And this trainer will allow you to give your students some experience with that. So if I want to switch my meter over, now that I know my source voltage is good, I'm going to switch it over and I'm going to read duty cycle percentage. And we're going to be able to see up top here in our top right corner, we're running about 55% of duty cycle for our Gen L signal. That's being represented right here on this bar graph. But let's go ahead and pin in here and see exactly what we're getting out. So if I come over here to the Gen L line and tap in right here with my lead jack, I'll see now that my meter is at about 55%, and that matches my live data that's up top there. And then I want to take this one step further, and I want to look to make sure it's outputting correctly out of the ECU. I can tap in right here as well, and I should see that my data list coming out of my computer and being received at my alternator all have the same signal. And that's a good diagnostic tool to teach your students that process. because it's more important that, yeah, if the data is there on the data list, that's fine, but you want to teach your students to go that one extra step further to ensure that not only is the computer putting out the right information, but the components it's trying to control are also receiving that same exact signal. One of my most favorite exercises to work through my students when doing basic electrical and advanced electrical training is talking about alternator output and output testing. Most of your manufacturers are going to require the use of a VAT 40 or an equivalent. We're using a Ferret 40 here today to go ahead and test our system to ensure our alternator output is correct. It's one thing to have an alternator that comes on and increases the voltage just at idle, but it's also another thing for an alternator to be able to continue to produce a high level of current when it's under a load. And that's what this tester does. Is it's going to put a little draw on our battery system, and we're going to be able to watch how the trainer responds, and it's going to up the amount of current output to respond to the amount of load that we're putting on the system itself. Now, I do want to be let everyone know that since this is a trainer, if you full field or ask for all she has here, that's going to probably charge the rotor up so much that it will go ahead and stop the unit here. So don't panic if that happens. Just back your load off, give it just a second, and the trainer will recover and you won't damage anything. But that is just one thing your students might do, and you don't want them to, obviously we don't want to do it over and over again, but it's not really going to hurt anything if we do get that far. So let's have a look and see what that looks like. Right now we're running about 12.92 volts here. That's what my output is. I'm going to go ahead and start the trainer up. We're going to immediately notice a pickup in voltage here. We went up to about 14.1 volts, so that's good, but we want to really make sure this alternator is working well. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to ramp this thing up. This is about 130 amp output alternator. I'm just going to bump it with a little bit. This unit has a quick load or a full load, so we're going to bump it with the load test here. We're going to watch how this voltage responds to this. Okay, so we can see the voltage, and I don't know if you guys can read the output here on this, but as soon as I go ahead and crank it up, my amperage output, which is being read off this inductive amp clamp right here, is going up substantially. We're rolling about 8 amps is what it's saying right here. It's probably putting out a little bit more than that, but as soon as I add that load to it, it jumps up to 30, 40 amps. If I really crank it up, let's crank it up and actually watch it shut the motor off here. I'm cranking it up. We're outputting 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, about 90 amps of output there, and I full fielded the rotor and overcame the amount of strength that little 120 electric motor has on there. So the moral of the story here is that, you know, this trainer not only lets you do faulting of the charging system, but you can actually do real vehicle testing with this. If you're running a training program that's limited on fleet vehicles, or if you're looking for a way to let your students gain some experience in the classroom in a more controlled environment, then the charging system trainer is really going to help fit that need for that. Thank you for watching today as we went over some of the basic features and attributes of our charging system trainer. If you guys enjoyed the content today and enjoyed the training experience, please be sure to check out our YouTube channel and our other social media accounts on Facebook and LinkedIn. And if you'd like to get additional training on any of our ATEC units, we offer in-house monthly training 2 days a week. Make sure you check out atectraining.com for more information. Thanks a lot, and we'll see you next time.